And that jarring cacophony tells you you're back with the Power of Three. Yeah, we know we're overloading you with episodes this week. We were trying to cut down after a recent deluge of new adventures, but things are happening and we need to share them. We need to talk about them. I'm Kenny Smith and I'm joined by somebody who's just down the road from me and somebody who's a little bit further away as we speak, because we are talking Doctor Who missing episodes, given the recent revelation from the fabulous folk that film is fabulous. So that was two uses of the word fabulous. My alliteration slightly failed me there when I was doing it live. But hey, what can you do? Person who's nearby, you better say hello.
Hello, David Steele here. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited about who's joining us this evening.
Who's this you've dragged in, Dave?
Well, it's the host of a show I check and reference and encourage people to listen to all the time. It's a gentleman who has helped Peter and I out on the Earth 2 podcast a number of times. Essential listening for me. Listeners, I'm delighted to welcome Brandon Peters of The Brandon Peters Show. Say hello, Brandon.
Hello, Brandon. I'm here. Thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to join in on a missing episodes discussion. That's one of my favorite things to ponder and pine for and be depressed about with Doctor Who.
Yes, absolutely. But yes, we have the news from Film is Fabulous today when they posted something on their Facebook page. And I have it here, so I'm just going to access it off my phone and I'm going to read it out because it's something worthy of comment, I think. So somebody called Justin Adderley was asking about Doctor missing episodes on their Facebook page, and Film is Fabulous replied, as mentioned by Sue Malden at our Recovered event in May, we are aware of several missing episodes of Doctor Who. Sue stated, one of two, but there are more than this in private film collections in the UK. We are liaising with the individuals about cataloguing and preserving their entire collection, including the missing Doctor Who episodes, and ensuring that copies are returned to the BBC. We expect to make a detailed announcement shortly. But then, of course, they followed it up a little later.
All right.
Somebody called Simon Ward said, your work is amazing. And what exciting news about Doctor Who. Do I also understand that there may be another episode of the Avengers Series 1 floating around? And they replied, we're aware of many items in private collections and have offered to catalogue the entire collection for the elderly film collectors. We hope to have more news on the early Avengers episodes in the weeks ahead. So it looks like there could well be a return for episodes from my two favourite television programmes of all time. Dave, what was your first reaction when you saw that news?
Well, you sent me that this afternoon, and our friend Tony texted me as well, and I was sort of like, because obviously we did an episode was it a couple of months ago? We did it now?
It was, yeah.
And we got lots of people involved, including Brandon, we all talked about which 4 episodes we most sort of wanted. And we all had that conversation, and then I just sort of dismissed it again because, this stuff comes up all the time. So hearing that, I feel very encouraged because I don't think they would be saying that if there wasn't some substance. If there wasn't a good chance of something happening.
Absolutely agreed. Brandon, what was your thought?
I was pretty shocked because if Film is Fabulous is going to go ahead and say this, you can't say 100%, but that's pretty close to confirmation because if you follow them or if you keep up with their announcements and stuff, they are very careful with what they say all the time, and they like to remind people we're here for films. We're trying to, if we find something along the way, that'll happen. Because every time they announce something, go to the comments, any Doctor Who? Any Doctor Who? And it's like, people are going to do that. Not everybody's up to snuff with Film is Fabulous and everything else. This is the first time they've actually acknowledged, moved forward, and said stuff. So you have to, and this is a legit group organization. This isn't someone dangling a carrot, or we know of something, or more fish to fry, or whatever Philip Morris needs
The wind
attention
is blowing
for.
in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is just like, hey, there's probably some paperwork they're waiting on, and I would imagine by November 23rd, we'll know what's going on.
Gosh.
At the latest.
It's weird to think about it because it's been so long. It's fast approaching, 12 years since we got Enemy of the World and Web of Fear back. And that was only a year or two after they'd got Airlock and episode 2 of Underwater Menace. So I remember the time, and again, the last time before that, I think, was it the episode 1 of The Crusade? Was that the last time?
No, Master Plan 2.
Of course.
That was done when I was getting my brain tumour out.
Right, so that's what, 2004? Is that right?
Yes.
Day of Armageddon, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember sort of thinking like that it was incredible. It's 4 episodes, such a large percentage of what was missing at the time, came back and almost so close together. And I remember we talked about this on the show before, like how Philip Morris really got everyone's hopes up with all his chat of, as you say, the wind blowing in the right direction and, stay tuned and all that sort of stuff. And nothing happened. And I remember actually there was persistent rumours that Marco Polo was back. There was a podcast I used to listen to, which I won't name, because they were always really good at sort of nailing gossip that turned out to be true. And they were convinced the Marco Polo was going to be out this weekend. I remember buying an iTunes card because I was so convinced, and then nothing happened. So it's I think the fact that they're even saying something about it.
It does. The fact they're a legit organisation who have returned things and they've already been broadcast in the UK. Some of them, I think they found Z Cars and quite a few other classic British film series from the late 50s, early 60s, and they've been shown here in the UK on Talking Pictures TV.
Yeah, so, and I saw something today that said they've actually been given a proper status as a proper confirmed, recognised charity. And they're now, in canvassing for donations, which is quite, which you sort of think, if I bung them a £5, will we get episode 4 of the Mythmakers,
Right. What if all they find is more copies of Space Pirates 2?
Well, I know, there's a lad we know over here called Jim Sangster, who theold me years ago, because he used to work for the BBC, he might still do, he had a moment when someone got in touch with him and said that they had a member of their family who had died, and they had this film can that had Doctor Who written on it, and it was like episode 2 of the Romans or something. It was just like, it was like that'd be, God, imagine it was the rest of the Space Pirates. That'd be lovely.
That would be. I mean, anything is good. That's the thing that's got to be clear here. Anything that come back is good. I know there was there's the famous Radio Free Scaro discussion with Paul that said there, and I talked, and Stephen has said this on his show now, so it's not private anymore, but Stephen Shapansky from Radio Free Scaro told me that he had told them that the episodes were, I think the word was insignificant or inconsequential, something like that, which none of them are, but I think he meant like their episodes where it's not like a companion leaves, a companion joins the first episode. Like, trying to describe it like
We're
that.
We're talking The Smugglers 2 or the Underwater Menace 4, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he had
Underwater Menace 4 would be good. Sorry.
Yeah, he had surmised that it was an episode of Toymaker and an episode of Savages. That's what he had surmised from the conversation. But the Savages wasn't Savages 4. Right. But I think I always like from the telesnaps the set design of the Savages, so that would be a win for someone like me. I think that's good, but that's what I had heard from there. But we also, I mean, most recently is the Power of the Daleks little film clip trims the most recent thing back?
Yes, the ones with Lesterson that were sold at the auction when Mr. Dodd, the designer, Derek Dodd, when his estate auctioned off several things, and with these wee film trims and things. So that was the most recent.
Right, forgotten about that. Yeah, it's interesting because I've only just bought literally last week, finally bought the DVD of the Savages, so I watched the animated version at the start of the week. And I remember loving it when I first listened to it about 15 years ago, if not longer. But I mean, you're right when you say that anything coming back at all would be good. Like if it is, an episode of a story that's already been animated, then it doesn't. It's that maybe makes it a little bit less exciting than one of the last 2 episodes of The Massacre, or Part 12 of The Master Plan, or Part 4 of The Savages, or whatever. But anything at all, and it's. I mean, this Kenny sending me that that screenshot this afternoon. That just had me going again. What could it be in it? And I was trying to remember which 4 episodes I picked to call. So, would they still be the same?
Yeah.
Well, I think, too, one of the things is we had before, when Enemy of the World came back, we could compare the loose cannon recon to what actually happened, and we have yet to have comparing an animated episode to what actually happened. So that would create a fascinating study. Be like, wow, how close are they? What did they hear and present? That would be fascinating, because I mean, I would take, like, Power of the Daleks would be amazing. I don't care if it's been animated and then updated animated. I think that story is important to keep as it's Troughton's first. But who knows? I mean, it could be just a random Mythmakers episode. It could be a Fury from the Deep episode. It doesn't matter. It's exciting to see, because Doctor Who, one of the fascinating things, if you're a really hardcore enthusiast, is you'll never, unless you're of a certain age, you'll never be able to watch the entirety of the series.
Yes.
But if you can watch a little bit more and get closer, that's super exciting.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I was thinking, where on earth would these episodes have come from? And I'm thinking, would it be a case of, like we had, I think it was some of the previous episodes were ones that were returned from Australia and were due to be junked, but they ended up in the hands of private collectors. So that would be my guess. That's where they've possibly been from, rather than people who worked at the Beeb.
Yeah, I've seen sort of rumour stories, sort of people saying things that were meant for skips being rescued, and also was it not like the case that was Dave Armageddon not was that not saved, inverted commas, by a BBC engineer or something? Who,
yes, along with an episode of the Daleks.
Yeah, he was sort of prompted to bring it back because the series itself was coming back, and and I'm sure I remember something that said this seemed like the right time to do it. So I mean, it's possible. Like, I remember the couple of Troughton episodes that came back in the 80s apparently were bought in, the fabled car boot sale. Every time I've gone to a car boot sale in my life, do you have car boot sales in America?
No.
Yard sale equivalent,
really.
possibly?
We have people have garage sales in their neighborhood, yard sales, things like that. We have little, like I went to a play so recently here, and I just found out it was happening I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I just found out that they were having the 6th running of this event called the Dead Formats VHS Convention, and it is a very rally thing of just a lot of people. I mean, there's Laserdisc there as well and other things and creators, but it's a very hardcore, we're selling VHS tapes type thing. And there's comic book events like that too that happen that aren't Comic-Con or things like that. But that's what we have here. And there's events, if you know, and there's with like trading rallies and things like that. But the car boot sales that I've read about that you will have over there, that I don't think we have anything like that.
Yeah, because I've only ever been. There used to be kind of semi. I don't know if it's still going. There used to be a big semi-regular one at a place very near, literally like 5 minutes walk away from where I stay. And I went along once, and I ended up buying a couple of Blue Peter annuals, which was fun. Okay. And he always. Toby Haydock always talks about it, like, if you go to a car boot sale, that because a couple were found at a car boot sale in the 80s, you always think, will I find the Massacre? Will I find the Moonbase at this car boot sale? Wouldn't that be amazing? I always joke with the owner, like at Who North America, that they're hiding one of the missing episode there. And then they asked me, I have an event there coming up called Oktoberfest, where I do some media stuff there, and they're like, what do you need this year, Power? I'm like, and the Fury from the Deep episode 3 I know you have. But we joked about that. That was a really good episode last year. If our listeners haven't heard it, I'll try and find a link and share it. Brandon talked to Sophie and a few other Doctor Who collectors in the States at Oktoberfest last year. It was really, really interesting. There was one chap I messaged you about. I can't remember his name.
You're talking about there's Larry Van Mersbergen. He's got one of the biggest collections here in North America. Yeah, I think he's got the second biggest. He's a great guy. He hosts the Doctor Who The Collectors podcast. which is one of the is a popular one, and he apparently the people at the Who shop listen to it a lot.
Okay.
Because every time he calls, they're like, "Oh, Larry, we love your show." So, yeah. I don't did they I seem to remember Film is Fabulous like 2 months ago talking that they were starting to get into ITV and BBC employees collections and estate things. So maybe one of these came from that.
Yeah.
Possibly too. If I'm not wrong, because I thought I remembered like, hey, we're about to start to get into former employee collections or so.
Yeah,
so
that rings a bell, because I mean, they're so. What I like about them is they don't. They say a lot without saying a lot
yes.
of the time. You know, they're kind of.
They're very good in their addressing of things. Yeah.
Very good. And like, there was it them that found an episode of the Lightly Lads, or this year or last year they turned up an episode of the Basil Brush Show, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm. Not just Philip Morris can find those.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was a Z-Cars or something. That's Z-Cars is another program I meant a number of episodes of that versus what actually exists. It's, you know, even worse than Doctor Who. You know, it's the amount of Z-Cars that's. But I, you know, that's, to me, that would just be a curiosity, because I like the theme tune, and one of my HMV bosses was an Everton fan, etc. You know, but I hadn't heard. That was news to me, that I hadn't heard they were talking about the Avengers.
Yeah, that's one that I'm excited by, because given that it was the Avengers first series wasn't initially networked across the whole country, and it was only later on that it did. So therefore, to do that, and because they were showing them at different times, you'd imagine they'd have created film prints which could have been obviously sent around the UK,
of course,
so they could show them at the relevant times. Yeah. So copies would exist. I mean, I was amazed when an episode, or was it the first third of Hot Snow, the first Avengers episode, showed up in the States, I think it was. No, it was in the UK, and then there was another episode showed up in the States, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
It's just incredible that, and now because for so long it was just the Frighteners that existed in the archives, and then Girl on a Trapeze showed up.
Yeah, it was the
Tunnel of Fear.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was that the one that Big Finish had done a version of?
Yes. John Dorney had adapted it. He spoke about it in the Blu-ray or DVD.
Yeah, so I think I've got memory of Gareth saying something about it to John on Twitter and saying, you know, this is, you know, because he'd seen the episode and, you know, yours was terrific. It really did a really good job, because I don't think they even had scripts for a lot of the.
No, just telesnaps and rough story outlines, and that was all they had to work from.
See, this is
extrapolated from it.
This is where I'm really lucky, because my second favourite television programme of all time is The Incredible Hulk, and I've had every episode of that in DVD since the 2000s. So, you know, it's great. Every couple of years, just scout through it again, you know.
In the United States, we really don't have anything like that. Things were archived pretty properly here, but we shot a lot on film too.
And isn't it just like Dark Shadows, from all the 1,200 odd episodes, only one is missing, something like that?
Yeah. Some
audio recording exists.
Yeah, Dark Shadow. That's a thing to jump into. Whew. It's usually back. Like I'll go to we have a streaming service. Do you have Pluto TV?
Yes, it's one of the ones that's a streaming one here. Yeah, you can find that.
Yeah, they have a Dark Shadows channel, and that'll be sometimes my ambiance for when I'm editing and writing and stuff like that. Just that Oregon music and just hearing the soap opera stuff of it. There's Dark Shadows. But yeah, every time with the Avengers, I think we might mention off air that I grew up watching that, but like every time there's not Doctor Who, but is there Avengers? That's my second. That's my second one to go to. But you know, it's all exciting. I tend to when I see Film is Fabulous returns, it tends to be a lot of what we would call over here like variety show type finds. That's exciting. It's your television history, things like that. But it's like, I want episodes, and I don't know. You know, finding missing films is exciting too, and I know they've listed a couple of them, but I don't know if they're going through film collectors to be like, nope, I already have that. Like, what films are like? Is someone going to find London at Midnight in this? Is this what happens with Film is Fabulous? Is that the singular goal of Film is Fabulous, and it'll board up once they find it? But it's interesting because they've been very until this day, they've been very adamant that they are not about TV, they are about films. And then they know that Doctor Who is wanted, and that's like something to look out for. And now they're like, okay, we're gonna use the two words Doctor and Who, and in a hang on there, we've got something type fashion, which is very unlike them.
But it's also very good if they've now got charitable status because other Doctor Who fans will donate to help them try and find them as well. Not at all cynical about that, but
that's very true. I mean, I can imagine there'll probably some people that will want to, do some fundraising on their behalf, and that would definitely be a good thing. I mean, I always sort of think, like, what else would I like to see turn up apart from Doctor Who? And there's episodes of Top of the Pops I would love, but I'd love to see the Out of the Unknown episode that adapted the John Wyndham story, Random Quest, because Keith Barron is in it, and he's one of my favourite actors of all time, and it's one of my favourite stories of all time. And you just sort of think, like, it's like we were saying when we did our last missing episode. You could just talk. Each of us, I'm sure, could talk for hours about what we want to find and why.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And also talking about it unknown, I'd love to see the one with what became the White Robots.
Yeah.
Track by Delia Derbyshire. But the one that I would absolutely kill to see is the series United, which was a football-based or soccer-based soap opera. And that's one that Brian Hales worked on. And
football's your word. You get, I know it means called something different over here, but you had it first. That is the sport. So
I'm just translating for those who may not know or may not be so interested.
I will say, Film is Fabulous. They have their thing. What?
Also, when Dave was talking earlier, the show's sometimes called Z Cars in the States.
Oh, no, it's Zed. It's Zed. Yes.
Really?
We don't. Yeah.
No,
that's hilarious.
I made it up.
I can imagine Steve saying that. But anyway,
in my early unknowing days, I probably called it that once or twice. The Film is Fabulous. While they're probably annoyed by the Doctor Who thing, they have to be somewhat grateful, because I feel like probably if you look at most of their social media followings and the amplification of them being an entity, probably comes from a lot of Doctor Who fans. Like, this is a chance at a missing episode. This is a chance. This is a chance. This, and I have followed them since not the inception, since I first heard about them, since they started being a little bit more public with stuff. But like I'm like, and I felt kind of like these people are gonna find one. They're at least gonna find one. This is where it's gonna come from. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but this mission, this kind of mission, is building trust with collectors and doing it right and doing it properly and talking with family. They're doing it the right way. They're going to find one. They're going to convince one of these curmudgeons that are like, I'm never going to give it back. And so they have to be grateful that awareness for what they're doing, and probably donations, are coming from Doctor Who fandom, and a lot of it probably too. I'm not saying all of it, because I don't know what this mysterious film community is over there to speak of, but I would imagine, like, I heard of it because of Doctor Who stuff when it wasn't even supposed to be a Doctor Who project. Yeah. And people talk about it all the time, and I see retweets and posts and people talking about from Doctor Who people a lot. So it's kind of yay, we're working together on this.
Yeah.
We'll take that. So
and it's the sort of thing, if they were to find some Doctor Who episodes, I can imagine it would encourage a lot of Doctor Who fans to give them some financial support on the off chance they find some more. It's it's encouraging is just the word. I think, as we've said, the fact they've even mentioned it in such terms is so encouraging. It's going to be,
It's also pleasing to see that episodes can be found by people who aren't Ian Levine and Philip Morris, because I mean, something that Film is Fabulous have been very careful to state is that they are, as you said, a film organisation, because you would imagine that dealing with Mr. Levine would be difficult based on his online reactions to things, and Philip Morris by exactly the same thing. He seems to be a very an opinionated gentleman who may rub people up the wrong way, perhaps by being over enthusiastic like Mr. Levine, but in different ways.
Was there not a rumour a few years ago that Philip Morris was claiming? I mean, this could be Chinese whispers. If you're still allowed to say that in this day and age, I apologise if you're not. Philip Morris had demands that Stephen Moffat leave and all this sort of stuff, and he had episodes he was going to give back, but he wanted to have some influence on what was happening on the programme. And I remember hearing something that some members of the production team were involved in negotiations with him and all this sort of stuff, but a few egos got in the way or personalities got in the way, and it didn't happen. And you're just sort of going.
Also, somebody who's a film collector have an influence, a creative influence, a man who's had no demonstrable sort of show line of things that he can do. Same with Mr. Levine.
Well, come on. Ian Levine did produce a few of the first Take That singles.
Yeah.
Dramatically, yeah, okay.
Well, here's the thing. Film is Fabulous is not going to hang what they may have all 7 episodes of Marco Polo, but they're never going to hold that over our heads. They're never going to be, hey, be nice to us because remember, we found this, and spend years reminding us what they found. They aren't going to do that. They're going to return them and move on. Yeah. And that's what, and we are going to remember them. And if things start going south for them, they're not going, hey, Who fans, remember who found this? We need $5. They're not going to do that.
No,
they're not going to do that. And they are, because some people like the attention. And from what I gather, Film is Fabulous is very much not about the attention. That's what I've received so far. And, those people, we are grateful for what you returned to us, Phil Morris. We are grateful for what your contributions, Ian Levine.
Absolutely.
Nobody has said they aren't. But when we disagree with you, that doesn't mean we just spit on your entire legacy. And, to think you have influence on the show, what you're returning and what you have is classic Doctor Who. It has nothing to do with what's currently going on with Doctor Who. If anything, if you want to drag attention away from new Doctor Who because you don't like it, the best way is to return old episodes and make the attention go there and remind people of what you liked better. But you shouldn't hold, because I remember Philip Morris, during Moffat, he wanted influence to return episodes. Yeah. During Chibnall, he did the same thing. During the early Russell T Davies, the second term, he said similar thing, and I just ignore that guy now because I don't think he has anything anymore. He might know of the same leads everybody else does, but I don't think anyone's returning it to him. Yeah. Just be nice, be kind. We're all in this together. And cool if you get him back if you have him. No one's going to talk to the guy that's. We're tired of the vague, mysterious clues, and you have nothing. You're sitting on the same pile of maybe that you were before. That's it. But like I said, still grateful for what you've done, but you did that. That we can't just sit and hang on that forever. They're back. We're good. Yeah. The episodes was important, not you. That was the thing, and that's why I'm very happy. Film is Fabulous is the ones, and they're convincing, and this will be good.
Very much.
I don't think they'll damage relationships with future collectors or the collectors that they're doing either.
No.
So
because they're doing it for the love of film, and that's the most important part. It's because they love old films, old TV, whatever the things that they come across. And as you say, because it's an organization, there's no ego, there's nobody front and center. That's what makes such a difference. And I think it's because it's genuinely motivated by love and not driven by ego, what a difference it's making already. And I think that a lot of fans are going to be delighted by that as well, because you won't get whoever the chairman is, as you say, going on, be grateful to me. I found this. I saved this. There will always be 110 missing episodes. Let me get my hands on them.
Apparently, the AI stuff, there are no more missing episodes.
Of course, these regenerations.
Because Ben's head on a stick body equals returned.
Yeah, some of the AI stuff that I've seen cropping up is phenomenal. There's a YouTube, I can't remember what it's called. There's a YouTube account that I follow, and he posted some stuff the other night. It was from he'd obviously taken a few photographs, still photographs or telesnaps, whatever, from Fury from the Deep, and had just worked wonders. And I can see if resistance to the whole AI thing, or maybe resistance is too an aggressive word. If attitudes towards AI change or soften, I wouldn't be surprised if we started getting those instead of animations before too long.
Well, what's funny is that's a funny conversation because I think AI as a tool, cool. AI as a means to an end, no. But when it comes to it, but it could make missing Doctor Who episodes interesting because you can have the audio, you have these actors, you can feed a camera script in there, and then say this directorial style.
Yeah, and that's it. And they can use the telesnaps as a reference or something,
Yeah.
probably, you know, and because there's some stories like obviously like the Smugglers, and I know 10th Planet episode 4, they, you know, the Savages was another one where they had tons of the telesnaps. So
But who's going to do a really good one and then try to pawn it off as a missing episode and like record it, get it like
Wow.
who's going to try to fib a missing episode?
Yeah. To transfer it to film.
Yeah, you can maybe charge 50 people 50 quid a go to sign up.
Yes,
that would almost be like trying to get people to copy like the first issue of DC Comics in which Batman appears at Detective Comics 38.
27.
Okay, I was 11 out.
That's not bad. That's not bad. At least you've heard of Detective Comics now.
Yeah, but imagine.
But the minute you see the sixth finger on Fraser Hines in the Highlanders, you're going to know.
That's the clue. Yeah, because Highlanders Part 4 was one of my picks. I was thinking about this in the train back from Silverburn this afternoon. What would my 4 picks be at this juncture, you know? And I'm still going to go with the last 2 episodes of The Massacre and last episode of Dalek Master Plan and Part 4 of The Highlanders. And it's because, you know, they say more than one, because when Tony texted me today, he said that someone on Gallifrey Base had said there was 6 episodes. And you're going, 6 episodes? Right, what are my other 2 going to be? And this is what I hope we find out, you know, before too long, because the feverish speculation, as much as we love it, is, you know, it could drive you to absolute distraction.
Yeah.
Not in that we're in any way joining in with it by
yes, we are.
Episode.
Right, come on. Right, what would your pick for 4 episodes be right now? Go.
Okay, right. Well, I'm sticking with Marco Polo episode 4 because I must know which way the credits are aligned.
Yes. I think you both picked that, didn't you?
Yep.
I had the Marco Polo without the telesnaps. Yep.
Yeah, I think you both picked that one. That was quite fun. It was amazing when we did that, actually, because we haven't really talked about this. It was amazing how many people picked a lot of the same episodes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the ones, we should have made up a spreadsheet. We should have done that, and you know, because several ones came out quite often. It was quite surprising.
And everybody was independent. Nobody knew what anyone else was doing, which made it really an interesting experiment. I'll have to do something similar again.
Yes.
I'm going to throw in an episode of The Highlanders because it's coming up to St Andrew's Day, and that'd be a great time to see an episode of it, even if we do see some Scottish people getting slaughtered. But we can live with that. But then
nowadays, Scottish people getting slaughtered just suggests people having quite a few pints with no tea.
That's very true. Or dinner, if you prefer.
Yes.
Yeah. So like an episode of Highlanders, and something from stuff we don't have. Even if it was something from the Smugglers, I wouldn't complain because it's
I'd love to see the Smugglers.
A story that we don't have. I think that's my
an episode with a sword fight. One of the sword fight episodes.
Yeah.
So no one has to try to animate it with the flash animation stuff they do.
That'd be good. So what would your 4 be right now then, Brandon?
I'm always going to say Power 1 because I want the earliest Troughton I can get. Right. So I have that one. I'll say Macra Terror 1. So I kind of want to see what that city looks like. And you get the rough and tumble scene back that everybody complained about. I'm like, it's an animation. It's a new adaptation. It's a new vision of that story. It doesn't take away the original story. That's just what it is. Let's see. That same Marco Polo episode. And then, I had Feast of Stephen last time because if that's there, anything's there. That's my mentality for it. But let's see here. Instead of that, to change it up for this one, so I'm not just all the same. Let's go with maybe a Fury from the Deep episode. Maybe the episode 3 with the cliffhanger of walking into the beach.
With lovely Maggie Harris.
Yes, that's what I'll go with there.
Okay, well, let's turn it around. Which episode would you least like to see back?
What that'd be the most underwhelmed by?
What would be the last, if they defined 96 episodes, which one would you be not too bothered about if it was missing?
One of the Ice Warriors episodes or one of the Abominable Snowmen episodes, because when I listened to Abominables, when I did my big marathon of all the way through it, starting in 2008, that story was just so dull. Having something to watch now with the animation transformed it for me. So, but I still have a resist. I think a lot of season 5 is quite boring. So it'd be one of the Ice Warriors episodes, I think, to be honest. There's nothing nothing really happens very much in episodes 2 and 3. One of them.
I think I would probably say which Galaxy 4 episode is it that has 5 minutes, like 5.5
Episode
minutes?
1.
We have.
Episode 1.
I would probably that one.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
My choice would be either 4 or 5 of Reign of Terror, because couldn't just Reign of Terror. Yeah.
Let's just work on fixing that animation. That's all we gotta do.
Yes.
Just edit it. You don't even have to fix it. Just the editing needs to be like, you can recut that, which I imagine they'll try when they do because they seem to know our complaints and they tend to them. So I imagine there's a recut version of Reign of Terror's animations when that comes out.
Yeah. I think I've watched that once.
I recently popped that one in, honestly, because I was like, you know what? I never watched this one, so let's.
Yeah, maybe I'll
starts
give it
out okay, but it just kind of.
I might give it a spin then, because it's. I'd never read the novelization, and I think by default, I can't remember who I was talking to about this. I kind of picked it by because Hartnell's my favourite Doctor, so I kind of picked that by default as my least favourite Hartnell story, just because it's, it's the French Revolution. It should be much more exciting. That was one of my biggest frustrations, was that they didn't do another French Revolution story when they had the Disney money.
Need more beheadings. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't lose your head over it, Dave.
Well, hey, see you there.
Hey.
Interesting. Well, there we go. Some thoughts, some speculation.
It's the best.
What is one that would change everything? What's one that would change everything if it came back? That would just be like, whoa. Like, it would, like, yeah. Would it be Feast of Stephen? Would that change everything? Like, just be like, you see this thing you had no idea of. Maybe it's better than the audio. Or
I think that would be one of them. But I think something like Destruction of Time, the last episode of Dalek Master Plan, because it's I've only seen the loose cannon reconstruction, but that's very good. And I think that would probably blow people's minds at just how good an action-packed and exciting Doctor Doctor Who actually was. But Feast of Stephen's hilarious. I think the whole Z cars scene in the police station is so funny. Stephen pretending to be the new guy from K Division. And the doctor, Bill Hartnell getting to do some comedy. Yeah, that would be a great one. I think, maybe Power episodes 5 or 6 maybe would just because it's so strong, and it would belie that thing that Doctor Who was cheap and wobbly and amateurish. It would totally blow that out of the water, I think.
Yeah, I think when we did our previous episode a couple of months back, somebody mentioned it, and I think because you can see that you can see it in some of the colour photos that were taken at the time. There's a man and a woman holding a baby, going down a corridor, and you think, wow, did they get exterminated, killing a baby? That would be interesting to see. Yes. So,
that would be.
Yeah, I didn't think. Because I remember I listened to your episode. One of the people said that not Power of the Doctor 1, because that it ends as it's just sort of introducing the sets to you of what's the interior and the Dalek. But I'm like, I need that first Troughton performance. So, but later on, I mean, that whole story. If like a whole story could come back, that would be a top candidate for me. I mean, even with Marco Polo out there, that would be a candidate for me.
Yeah, I think if it was one full story, I'd want the Massacre. I became quite interested in that. I'm generally interested in French history in a low key type way, anyway. As a massive Hartnell and Purvis fan, because you've got Peter Purvis coming to.
He'll be at Chicago. I'm hoping to interview him for a documentary in November. So him and Carol Ann Ford will be there, and we're hoping to add them to the documentary.
Peter's
and it was
wonderful.
funny.
He really is.
It was funny. I was like, they were announcing guests, and I was talking to the director of the documentary, and I was like, man, if they could just throw Peter Purvis on there, it'd be perfect. And then all of a sudden they announced final guest, Peter. I was like, what? I was like, were they listening?
Is that his home telephone number?
Yeah, it's the infinite address book in electronic form.
Yeah, there we are.
Right on.
For the benefit of our YouTube viewers there. Jokes. So, Kenny, one story, what was your pick?
See, I always thought that I would go for the Massacre, but I really, really like the Mythmakers, and I'm also swayed partly by the Highlanders, because it's not just a patriotic thing, because obviously the history and it's a load of bobbins, but I don't know, there's something about it that appeals, and I think getting to see Fraser Hines pretty much, and after that, you know exactly how the story's going to go.
Yeah, the Highlanders
there's
is
something
great.
nice about that.
The Highlanders is
Terror.
Really
I
is.
don't know. I'll pick the Highlanders. That's my choice for a full story.
Yeah, I would love to see that, because I remember getting the novelisation round about the time, because the book came out when I was in primary 7, and we'd just been sort of studying the Highland clearances and all that sort of stuff. So it was like, you know, I brought this book in, and look what I've just got, Mrs. McLaren. So everyone actually had to pay attention to me talking about Doctor Who for 2 minutes.
McLaren? Was it the Laird?
No.
Oh.
Her first name was Janice, I seem to remember. She had red hair. She was
Sounds very Highland.
She was brilliant. She was equally terrifying and equally very warm. But anyway, that's another podcast.
Was she William Hartnell in disguise?
No, of course not. Speaking of other podcasts, before I forget, Peter Purvis has launched his own podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
First episode is out, him talking to Colin Baker. I listened to it yesterday. It's excellent. Peter's one of these, just a broadcasting pro, and it's very good so far. So everyone, you should check that out and give Peter your support. He's a legend.
Very much so.
And so for winding up, this has been our guest. Can plug his show for us.
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on social media at Brandon4KUHD, just like the discs or the quality of your image. And my show is The Brandon Peters Show, which you can find at thebrandonpetersshow.com, anywhere podcasts are found, and on YouTube, where you can also see my Blu-ray, 4K, and DVD reviews. And then I will be at Doctoberfest, which is held in Canby, Indiana. It's a free event for Doctor Who fans. The fantastic book that I talked about, that'll be a part of, that I'm in. The authors and creators of it will be there doing a signing. There's lots of everything there has to be Doctor Who. So arts, crafts. If you're a vendor or something, you have to be doing Doctor Who stuff. So it's all Doctor Who at Who North America. Between tents and in the store, they've had some. There's been some things they've had to keep the cost down the last couple of years, but it should be going back to a bigger event in the coming years. But it's a fun time. It's a way to kill a Saturday, and and then I'll be at Chicago TARDIS. It looks like I should be back at Chicago TARDIS working with the PBS documentary. But I'm kind of hard to find there because I'm in a back room doing interviews with people. So if you do see me there, that's fine. That's the Doctor Who stuff I have going on. And then I'm big film. My podcast is mainly film based, but I do spur into Doctor Who things here and there. But
Have you got Eric Luskin as part of the documentary?
Not yet. We have. So in the documentary, we have Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Aldred, Joe Martin, Dominic Glenn. We have Mark Ayers. We have Fraser Hines. We have Ian McNeice. We've got fans in it too. We've got creators. We got Jason High Ellery in there. And
Kenny's boss.
My other boss.
Yeah. So yeah, he's in there. He was a little like, what's going on with this thing here? And like, 'cause we had asked for Sadie Miller and stuff, and he comes in first to like check things out and whatever. And then he kind of got the okay, well, my people could do it. We didn't get time to have Sadie or Daphne Ashbrook, but they'll probably be around again at Chicago TARDIS. But it was kind of funny. The way he was kind of uncertain, and the director of it is Russell McGee, who's a audio engineer for Big Finish as well, and he works with it. Jason,
you'd think Jason, that would work.
He's like, Jason, it's me. He's like, oh, okay. He was like, what is this thing? But someone like, it's funny because when you talk to the classic Doctor Who people, PBS is big for them. Like Sylvester McCoy, very smart. I love PBS. I don't want it to go away. I hear your government's doing bad stuff, and he's all because their heyday was in the United States was when PBS was trotting them around. We had the Doctor Who USA tour, which I worked on a documentary about, coming out from real time in I think February. But so it's been very interesting. Those are some of the people in it. But and more to come. It's set to release in 2028. So wow. we've been shooting since 2023. That was when the pilot test interviews happened, and then they said okay, and then they greenlit everything, and then they got the first footage back from Chicago TARDIS last year, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So we've been covering events, going to places in the Midwest that have Doctor Who related things, like the people's crazy collections. Like I've been in the Whoseum. If you follow it on Instagram, Whoseum, that place is insane. We've been to there's like this little coffee shop in Illinois we've been to. We took part in the 5,000th game of the longest running campaign for the Doctor Who role-playing game on the 40th anniversary of the role-playing game, which was crazy. That was up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we got places. We've got the people who created the Gallifreyan language, the Circle Gallifreyan. They're in the documentary, and we have talked about that. Just a lot of things, and it continues to grow and be more, and we're hoping to have more people. Hopefully Christopher Eccleston, because he'll be at Chicago TARDIS, but he is one day, and I mean, we barely got Joe Martin, so I imagine he'll be a lot busier. So, yeah, we'll see. Just continue to follow me there. I post updates about it, so it's very exciting.
Cool. Let me get you and Keith back on then to talk about it near the time of coming out. That'd be good.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a fun one. Has Keith been on yet?
Oh, yeah.
On my show?
On our show.
Here?
We've had Keith on our show several times.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was on my Doctoberfest. When I was at Doctoberfest last year, when we had talked before, but we never met in person. Like he latched on me, he made me drive him. Like every time I was driving somewhere, I'm in Brandon's car, and then he kept wandering by my podcast booth and whatever. And then when he had his panel, like they didn't have a panelist, or their panelists were supposed to be, and he was arguing with the owners, like, I want Brandon, or I don't do the panel. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, dude, I did not research. I'm not prepared, but we will do this. So
that gives me an idea. You could do poorly described Doctor Who stories.
that was on the docket last year, and I never got around to it. So
right,
I do have in a notebook poorly described Doctor Who stories. I might try it this year if I get the time. But some of the attendees were really weirded out by microphone. It was really weird.
Okay.
When I was trying to do that, so I've attempted both years to do poorly described Doctor Who stories, but now that I've kind of interviewed people and we don't have a huge range of guests and stuff, and a lot of them will be the same as last year, so I'm going to ask him what I'm going to do this year at Doctoberfest is ask him the questions from the Fantastic book, but I might throw in if they want to play poorly described Doctor Who stories. Cool. So
cool.
Yeah,
cool. Poorly described movies is a thing that Brandon does on his show when he does sort of conventions and stuff. And it's very, very funny. I did really badly the last one.
Yeah. Oh,
everybody's
good at it until they're up in front of the microphone.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. I get them quite easily, but it was, I think, only the last time you did it. I think it was you and Patches of them. I think I got one. That was the worst I've ever done. I was kind of like, come on, you can do better than this. It's quite funny.
Yeah. My wife, my family actually got to attend it for the first. They loved it. They were. My daughter did terrible at it, but she was upset. But they really liked that game. So,
cool.
But yeah, Chris Johnson from The Normies, which is a reaction channel here in town. They have almost 1 million YouTube subscribers. Chris Johnson and I, we team up for that. And we've done it at PopCon, and we do it at Days of the Dead, which is a horror convention that goes around the United States. They do like 9 shows a year, but we're just at the Indianapolis show.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
There we go. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. Yeah.
I've actually had a thought for a different play out tune from the one that we discussed earlier, because I thought, given that we've mentioned it several times, surely the theme tune from Z Cars is a must.
Oh, yes, that's an excellent idea.
There you go.
That sounds like a taxi company.
Yes. I want to give a quick shout out, obviously, as usual, to the other two podcasts, because Brandon and Kenny have both been on, and they'll hopefully both be on again before too long. Peter and I are about to launch our coverage of Secret Society of Supervillains. In fact, we might have done by now, actually, so there's some good stuff coming there. If you don't listen already, please do, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And Kenny promises me that there's going to be another episode of Pieces of Eight before too long.
Yes, it's the edit for the interview needs to be done. Everything else around it is all ready to go. So
excellent.
That will be done starting next week. So
awesome.
It will definitely drop after this episode has come out. So
brilliant. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
It's an honor to be here.
You are my favourite podcaster. I love your show. I love the positivity of everything you do, and more power to your elbow, and don't go changing.
Thank you.
We're not playing that.
You know, it's funny. Mr. Barnfather, he posted something, you commented on it, and he came up to me with his phone. He goes, "This guy says you're a legend." Is that true? Is that true? Are you a legend in these parts? I'm like,
and you shrugged modestly.
I said, "Yeah, I'm not even a legend in my own house."
Well, I'm still mortally offended that I'm not Dave's favourite podcaster. So on that bombshell.
Well, I hope Peter doesn't listen to this when I say, well, you're obviously my second favourite podcaster, Kenny.
If you don't like that, in fact, tell us who your favourite podcaster is. Email Peter at f2podcast@gmail.com and he'll pass it on, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, you're the favorite on that hemisphere, right? There you go.
That works.
Yeah,
that
there
works.
We'll go
awesome.
for that. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. All best.
Stay phone positive.
And over to the Z Cars theme.